Right, so before we totally move away from the compliance and certification of your product, I want to retouch on the CE and UKCA mark, as there are a few common misconceptions out there, and I just want to clear some of the things up. Now, both compliant marks of the UKCA and the CE mark are not an indication of quality on an individual component basis, meaning that the product that you may hold in your hand, whereby the design, if the compliance mark was applied correctly and the product was tested to the correct directive, it does not necessarily mean that the product itself is of good quality. So what do I mean by that? Now, it would be perfectly possible for a product to be tested under the compliance tests, have CE or UKCA mark approval, go into production, and then have a manufacturing defect whereby the product was unsafe. This is entirely possible, and if you have enough defects in your production line, then again you may be forced to recall or take your product off the shelves, at which point trading standards will request to see your documentation and the proof that you conducted the CE or UKCA testing. So the compliance marks on the rear of your products are not a quality control mark, and it's important to distinguish between the two. Yes, the CE mark does protect the customer to a degree, however, it's not a blanket covering. And we'll talk about quality control testing later on in this course. However, I wanted to clarify the point that having a CE mark does not necessarily make the product safe to use. And another common misconception is the CE mark means China export. Now, this was a story that was doing the rounds over the past few years. The EU concluded that there was no evidence to suggest that there was ever any manufacturers that were using the CE mark as a China export mark to circumnavigate the compliance approval process. However, there are countless examples whereby the CE mark has been applied incorrectly and illegally to products, especially toys. And to drive this product home, a recent study of toys purchased off Wish, eBay, Amazon, and AliExpress conducted by which found that 40% of the purchased toys failed the CE and UKCA test directives EN 71. And here's a few of them here. It's pretty scary. Now, to drive this point home, you as the importer are responsible to ensure that the products that you sell on the market are safe and comply to the relevant legislation.